Citizenship through real estate investment has become one of the most talked about pathways for global mobility, and India is a major player in that shift. At IREX Delhi 2025, the biggest questions around programs like EB5, Golden Visas and international property came straight to the table. Today we take you inside the conversations, shaping how investors move, live and build their future beyond borders. Hello and welcome to the 23rd edition of IREX 2025, and this panel discussion is on EB5 demystified from investment to residency. So quickly, I'm going to introduce the panelists. To begin with, we have Mr. Matt Hogan, CMB Regional Centers, Mr. Akshat Gupta, he's from the US Immigration Fund, Abhishek Singh is from EB5 United, Ria Nandi is from EB5 Capital, Rishabh Gandhi is from Civitas Capital Group, and we have Rohit Turkun from the CSG Law. It's really a pleasure to have you all. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Abhishek, I'm going to begin with you, I think, to start with a very basic question, which our viewers would want to know, with the audience would want to know here is that why should Indian investors be considering the EB5 visa program over other US immigration options, specifically for permanent residency?
There's so many reasons. Number one is it's a direct path to get permanent residency. Number two, there's no dependency. You do not depend on anyone, neither on your employer nor anybody from the family to sponsor you. The third one and the biggest one is, it is one of the fastest ways to get to permanent residency. If you'll compare it with another, other visa categories, which can lead to permanent residencies. When you talk about people living in the US on different visas, and if they are looking to get permanent residencies, it gives them an immense opportunity to actually apply concurrently and get EAD and advanced parole in near about 2 to 6 months from the day they file the petition. Now, EAD gives you the power to hop jobs, stay in the US without working, or start your own business. Basically, your presence in the US is not tied up to your employment anymore. Plus, advanced parole gives you the power to travel in and out of the US without any hassle. So technically, you start enjoying the benefits of a green card within months of filing the petition. So that can happen if you file concurrently. When you talk about students, a major chunk of the investors, the parents think about it, and the students plan their future in the US. So it gives them freedom. If parents who are looking to send their children to the US, and if they can plan it well, then these students can qualify for in-state, and they can have major discounts on their tuition fees. So, and on top of that, if you are studying over there and you have gotten through this particular process and you have your EAD, then you can do anything. You don't need to do something which is related to your major. So your dependency on OPT goes completely. It is a now, yeah, there are things in this which makes it a bit complex, but there are specialists sitting over here, and you will hire people around you for this particular petition, which will make things simpler for you. But the actual need is that you come up with clean money, which can be traced, and you file your EB5 petition, which covers an entire family, husband, wife, and children below 21 years of age. So it's a wonderful program to get into.
Now that you've told us the benefits, and of course, like you're all rightly are experts, and that's why the panel is called, demystifying, everything about EB5. Matt, now that we know the benefits of having the EB5 visa, what are the key eligibility and investment requirements to qualify under the EB5 program today?
So the minimum investment threshold for an EB5 investment is $1,050,000 US. However, that investment amount can be reduced to $800,000 US if the investment takes place in what's referred to as a targeted employment area. And right now there are 3 different categories that qualify as target employment areas. Those are projects in rural areas, projects in high unemployment areas, and then also projects that are focused on infrastructure. So infrastructure projects whereby the administrator of the EB5 investment, the funds themselves, is a public entity, a government entity. When we talk about qualifications for an EB5 investor, that minimum investment threshold, that's obviously the biggest one. The investment itself is a family-based investment, right? So the applicant gets their visa, but so does their spouse and any children under the age of 21. So in that sense, you're looking at a program that can be one investment threshold for the entire family. You can get everybody in. As Abhishek mentioned, you're not required to rely upon, sponsorship from family, sponsorship by a company, and it provides obviously unique advantages as opposed to programs like the H-1B program. What you're going to see in this industry is an unbelievable race, huge competition within this industry between now and September 30th of next year. And there's going to be a lot of marketing. There's going to be a lot of mismessaging. There's going to be a lot of poor marketing, negative marketing. Be careful. Do not, if something's too good to be true, it's probably not a very good project. Don't get sucked into gimmicks. Don't get sucked into new ways to try and outsmart USCIS, because you're not going to outsmart USCIS.
Okay, great. Thanks for explaining that really well. Ria, I want to come to you first because we're talking about regional centers and you all are the experts here. What specific role does a regional center play in helping, investors identify structure and also monitor the investments?
Regional centers and companies like ourselves, we basically work with developers, we collaborate with the developers and see what kind of projects they are building across the US. It could be multifamily residentials, it could be hotels, office rentals, and regional centers like ourselves basically collaborate with them, help them raise funds for their projects, and thereby investors receive their green cards through those investments in these particular developments that are happening across the US. Now, the companies like us also see and monitor these projects across the tenure of the project, which is anywhere between 3 to 5 years. We see that the project is able to basically raise funds also from like a third party, like a bank, see that the jobs are being created, which is very important for, basically in EB5, unless the jobs are created, investors will not get their green cards. So we monitor that entire asset for 3 to 5 years and see all these things are met so that basically investors get their green cards eventually. So that is what a regional center basically does in this entire process of EB5.
Akshat, that's where what I want to ask you, what makes, since Ria was mentioning, about the projects, the tenure. So what really makes a project bankable? Let me ask you in simple words, whether it's the investment, whether it's the immigration, what makes a project strong as well as bankable where an investor would really put in that money?
Sure. I think there are various aspects to it. I think first it starts with who is the developer on the project, right? Does that person have enough experience in the world of real estate first? Second, has the developer done past EB5 projects? Have they been a success? Have they been a failure? Have they been a challenge? Then you obviously come and look at the specifics of that project. So you look at, okay, what asset class is it? Is it a retail project? Is it a condo project? Is it a multifamily? Then you step closer and you see what is the location of the project, right? Just because it's a multifamily doesn't mean it's going to be successful in any part of the US until and unless there's a demand for that asset class in that area. Then you dig deeper and then you see, okay, what is the cap stack? What is the capital stack? Which means how has the project been structured? What position is EB5 investors in? Are they in the senior loan position? Are they in the preferred equity or mezzanine debt position? How much of the developer's equity is in the project, which is how much is the developer's skin in the game, right? How much inclined is he to ensure that this project is a success in order for investors to ultimately achieve their objective? And then from an immigration standpoint, you look at something most importantly as basic as job creation. So we as regional centers hire third-party experts, which are PhD in economics. These people obviously do an independent research and prepare a study which is submitted in the I-956F application of any project, where we sort of project what are the total number of jobs that are going to be created. And in any project, you'd like to at least have like a 15 to 20% buffer when it comes to job creation, so that in the event or scenario, again, a 0.001%, the entire project doesn't get complete. It shouldn't be neck to neck. It shouldn't be like you needed 10 jobs, you're only creating 10 jobs, right? Yeah. So I would say these are a few factors that need to be considerably kept in mind while you're looking at a project, and that is what makes a project a good or a bad one.
Rishabh, I want to ask you here, when we talk about the new, set-aside visa categories, whether it's high unemployment, it's rural, infrastructure, benefit Indian investors specifically, particularly in terms of faster processing, and also something I think which is a concern for everybody is the reduced backlog.
Yes, so luckily, post the 2022 Reform and Integrity Act, they came up with this, new categories, and like Matt highlighted, you've got HUA, we've got rural, we've got infrastructure, with different visa set-aside categories. In terms of the fastest, per the Reform and Integrity Act is, they have a priority processing for rural, but I was just at the conference hall, and I was speaking to one of our colleagues, and he said that they've got an HUA approval now in 6 months as well, right? So it's really a black box, that goes into processing. But yeah, in terms of the maturity, we are seeing the fastest approval across rural projects.
Okay, so it's good to hear that, but I now want to come to Rohit from the legal aspect, Rohit. So, you really are the expert here. Could you walk each one of us, through the various key legal stages from the initial contribution to the conditional and then, of course, permanent green card approval, specifically, of course, for the EB-5?
Thank you, Ambika. First of all, I'd like to thank IREX for allowing me the privilege and the pleasure of being here, and for all of you for attending this. I happen to be in the minority on this panel. I'm the only licensed attorney. I'm the only one who's not licensed to give any financial advice to anybody. I'm also the only one licensed to say that the only way you can get a green card faster than EB-5 is through marriage to an American citizen, as long as that marriage is a real marriage. If it's not a real marriage, you're making the worst mistake of your life. Okay.
So the best tip for the day, yeah?
Absolutely. Okay, so, you start out by talking to regional centers who are all very well represented over here. They are among the creme de la creme of over 500 regional centers today in the US. I've been very privileged to work with pretty much every single one of them at some point in time or the other. So you start by talking to them and finding out about their projects. You start by talking to an attorney of your choice or multiple attorneys before you decide who you want to work with, and get a sense of what's required. Your most important job of your immigration attorney is to work with you for your source of funds, because you have to be able to establish where the monies are coming from. Let's assume that you've selected your project, you've selected the immigration attorney to work with. When those two things come together, you can file your EB-5 application. Just like Rishabh just said, there are different timelines for processing of different applications. There is no set timeline. The immigration does not believe in a first in, first out, so you can get some things approved quickly through sheer luck. Once that is approved, then you'll go through the regular process, either of working with the immigration service in the US or of working with the US consulate in Mumbai if you're from India. You're then going to get a conditional green card, which is valid for a period of 2 years. During the last 90 days of that conditional green card process, you will file another application to remove the conditions. That can take anywhere from a year to 4 years. You also have to remember that once you file that application to remove the conditional application and you get a receipt, that receipt actually extends your conditional green card for a period of 4 years. So you continue to maintain your residence. Provided you fulfill all your conditions, after you get your permanent green card, you could qualify for US citizenship. Not necessary that you become a US citizen. It's always safer, especially in today's immigration environment, to become a US citizen. And hopefully that's the goal for most people. But many people are happy with the green card and can live with the green card for the rest of their lives. That's perfectly fine. The most critical part of your EB-5 application, because that's what's going to decide whether your application can be approved or not. If you invested in any one of these regional center projects sitting on this panel over here, you probably will get an approval so far as the project side is concerned, which is briefly called a 956F approval. If you have that approval, in all likelihood, the project side is approved. Well, that's what it means. It also means in all likelihood you will get your green card, because that means job creation will hopefully be completed. By the way, the one word that you don't ever want to use in the EB-5 space is the word guaranteed. It does not exist. If you do keep using that word, just try and get it out of your system, because that's not going to work. Okay. then you're basically, just like in the real estate industry, one would focus and the mantra over there would be location, location, location. In the EB5 space, your mantra should be documentation, 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 especially when it relates to the source of funds. You may have complicated assets, and that's why you want to work with an attorney who's got experience in EB5, usually particular to your culture, particular to your country, know the guidelines, and get a sense for how are you going to document it.
Thank you so much for joining us today at the IREX 23rd edition of IREX 2025. It's really been a pleasure to have you all on. Up next after the break, we continue the deep dive into citizenship-linked real estate with an extended one-on-one that answers what the panel couldn't get into. Welcome back. Before the break, the panel unpacked the realities of EB5 and the growing appeal of citizenship through investment. Now we're going even sharper, a focused one-on-one that breaks down timelines, risks, and what Indian investors should keep in mind before taking the leap. Well, I have with me Mr. Matt Hogan, Senior Vice President of Project Development, CMB Regional Centers. Thank you so much, for being a part of this conversation. I think, Matt, to begin with, if you can tell our audience and our viewers, what is CMB Regional Centers' main business? I mean, if you could tell us, what really does it entail?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. CMB Regional Centers is an EB5 regional center. So we are designated by the USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, to make EB5 investment or offer EB5 investment opportunities to immigrant investors who are wishing to come to the United States and earn permanent residency.
If you can also share with us, what are the key factors when an individual is considering the EB5 program? What all factors should they keep in mind, especially when they're evaluating at one point, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you want to pick a project that number one, you understand and that you're comfortable with. At the end of the day, it's your decision. You don't get directed into a project by the regional center. The regional centers offer those projects to you, and you should be doing your due diligence. You should be making sure that not only you understand that regional center, as we just discussed, but then you're understanding the developer behind the project, how it's structured, how they anticipate the job creation to be achieved. You should be looking at all of those factors and trying to make a holistic decision on what the best opportunity is for you.
So then you use the term due diligence, obviously, which is key when somebody is looking at taking up, the decision of actually, applying for the EB5 visa. Could you specify a little bit more when it comes to legal as well as finance due diligence? Because, of course, when money is involved, if you can just tell us a little bit.
Sure. And, one thing I want to say is that, when CMB structures our project, we have a simple company motto, and that's if we put our investors first and our investors have success, we as a company will have success. And that couldn't be more true because our successful investors refer additional clients to us, right? If we have failures, we don't uphold our agreements with our investors or we betray their trust in some way, shape, or form, that spigot gets shut off. We have negative marketing out there in the industry, and so we care very much about that. Part of setting yourself up for success is doing that early due diligence. From a financial perspective, that's gathering all the documentation and reviewing all the documentation on that project, how it's supposed to be constructed. Is it fully permitted? Is it fully entitled? Does it have any legal challenges that could stop it from moving forward once it enters, before or once it enters its construction phase? Is it fully financed? There's more to just completing the financing of a project than just the EB5. In fact, if you go out and you find a project that just has EB5 in it, doesn't have developer equity, doesn't have any other bank debt, you should be very weary of that because they've probably over-levered EB5. So you need to understand that those other pieces of that structure are there. You need to make sure that it's financially sound and that the regional center has stress tested the operations, the projected operations of that project, and they've studied and they understand the market that project's going to be in, and that they've really evaluated the exit strategy. How feasible is it going to be for that project to be refinanced or sold at the point in time in which the loan matures and investors are supposed to be seeking repayment? From a legal standpoint, a lot of that goes in parallel to the things I just talked about, But then it also goes into the critical documentation, making sure that we've structured not only our loan, but the EB-5 investment partnership to be compliant with EB-5 law, but to protect the investor and their investment throughout that entire process, making sure that we have proper collateral, that we have tight default provisions within our loans that are enforceable. And then critical, make sure you're working with a regional center that has the ability, the team, the wherewithal to enforce the terms and conditions of the loan agreement. Yeah. Some will not. Some will say, oh, sorry, didn't work out. Investors, you're on your own.
So keep all the factors in mind. Ensure that the center which you're going to, the regional center, has all these things in mind. I think that's, again, very valid.
Yes.
It's really been a pleasure to have you with us, Matt. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Surprisingly, Indians are the largest consumers of EB-5. We've got a lot of static population residing in the US, and EB-5 is the shortest and shortest way of getting a green card. So we are seeing a good amount of investor interest in the Indian market. With IREX, we've been associated for a very long time, and it's always very good to be here. They always manage to bring in the right people, the right audience.
Well, the Indian market has been really the top in the industry this year. India and China are the two largest investors in the EB-5 program, largely because they are backlogged in pretty much every other visa category, and the EB-5 program is the only way to receive a green card within the next decade other than marriage.
Indian market is very potential market. There are a lot of Indian visitors traveling to Thailand over the past year and boosting the interest in property market. And people are seeing the value because it's close, affordable, and offering great lifestyle and investment opportunity. The response here at IREX is very positive. It's the first time that we exhibiting at IREX 2025. We have very good experience so far.
We are really surprised with Indian market. I think that is one of the biggest markets considering immigration to US, and we are really excited to be here in IREX.
The Indian market is one of the most competitive markets in the industry. It's very, very active. We see a lot of people very attracted to different programs. EB-5 in particular has grown tremendously over the last decade.
The discussions we have with Indian people are very, very high scale. Always about the returns, about the business plan, about the potential return on investment, of course, after 10 years. And people are very serious here. So I would say that it's one of the most interesting markets for us. At the moment, for Golden Visa, it's a top 5 market.
For EB-5 perspective, India has been a great market since the start, since 1990. India continues to be one of the biggest consumers of EB-5 visa program. Very pleased with IREX, with the kind of people we meet here.
India for EB-5 has always been one of the top markets, and there are a lot of Indians that want to move to the US. Indians based out of the US also want to convert and become, permanent resident of the US and get their green cards. So it's always been a good market in general.
What this really showed is that citizenship through real estate isn't just a trend. It's becoming a strategic move for families looking for stability, access, and long-term global opportunity. IREX Delhi 2025 brought the nuance to the surface, from policy shifts to investor priorities. And if today proved anything, it's that the conversation around mobility and investment is only getting bigger.